On October 4th, 1957, the Russians successfully launched the first satellite into space. It's called Sputnik 1, and the United States is not very happy about it.
America at that time doesn't really like it when Russia beats us to the punch on anything, especially when it comes to space and weaponry.
The biggest fear among U.S. military brass is that next, the Soviets will beat America to the moon.
America has to do something to catch up with the Soviets. So NASA turns to the Air Force and said, hey, let's work together. We know it sounds crazy, but let's just think of every out-of-the-box idea you can, and let's get them.
Instead of sending a man to the moon, the Air Force suggests something much more unbelievable.
So the idea from the Air Force is to blow up an atomic bomb on the moon.
As crazy as it sounds, the Air Force actually suggests that we send a nuclear weapon to the moon and create a mushroom cloud big enough for everyone to see all over the world.
The crater that it leaves behind is going to be ongoing, perpetual evidence of supremacy. They want everyone on Earth to look up at that thing and know that it is an American crater.
What they want to do with this is send a warning sign. Don't mess with us.
Incredibly, NASA doesn't immediately shoot down the idea. In fact, they give it the green light.
They call this mission Project A119. And they bring together this team of genius scientists, including a young graduate student by the name of Carl Sagan. They propose using a W-25 warhead that has a 1.7 kiloton yield, and they want to strap it to a ballistic missile and shoot it straight up to the moon.
But before they can push the launch button on Project A119, the government abruptly shuts down the mission.
There are concerns that the weapon might misfire and come down somewhere in the United States, or worse yet, come down somewhere in Russia, triggering a nuclear response from the Soviet Union.
And then we're in full-scale war.
This mission was obviously classified, so for a very long time, nobody knew how close we came to detonating a nuclear warhead on the moon.
On a cold February morning in 1942 at 6:30 a.m., the Canadian city of Winnipeg wakes up to what might just be their worst nightmare.
Air raid sirens are blaring, bombs are going off, and as they leave their houses, they hear a cacophony of machine gun fire that seems to be getting closer.
By 9:30 a.m., it all turns quiet. Over the Winnipeg radio, it's announced that their mayor, their government, have just surrendered to the Nazis.
They see a sight they never expected. Hobnailed jackboot Nazis marching past Portage in Maine, the main intersection in Winnipeg.
This is a crazy moment. You have tanks on every street corner, the Nazi flag hanging at City Hall.
But don't worry, this isn't something you missed after you fell asleep in history class. The Nazis never really invaded Winnipeg. It's all part of a mission to keep Canadians on their toes.
It's part of a massive Canadian propaganda operation that's supposed to awaken Canadians to the potential danger of Nazi threats. They call it IF Day.
This is actually the largest military mobilization in the history of the province of Manitoba. 3,500 men in German uniforms take to the city streets.
The Nazis are actually reservists and volunteers dressed in costumes and gear provided by Hollywood studios.
And these young soldiers are taking their Nazi acting seriously.
They board up synagogues. They burn books. They go into shops. They go into restaurants. They go into schools, and they verbally abuse and accost people. This is what life would be like under Nazi occupation.
By 5:30 p.m., the prisoners, along with Winnipeg's mayor, are released, and the staged occupation is over.
The genesis of this idea for IF Day comes from the Greater Winnipeg Victory Loan Committee, who believes that using fear will be the best motivation for getting people to contribute to the war effort.
And it works. Within days, $3 million Canadian dollars are raised in war bonds. Within weeks, you're talking about $65 million.
This is one of the greatest fundraising schemes ever put together.
Sometimes achieving a mission means getting a little more down and dirty.
British spies are often considered the best of the best, and the creme de la creme are known as MI6. And during the Cold War, MI6 is really at its peak.
Alongside NATO forces, MI6 launches a secret mission to gather information from Soviet-controlled East Germany, called Operation Tamarisk.
It's not what you picture when you imagine a conventional espionage operation where an agent is slipping into an office building at night and secretly using one of those little tiny spy cameras to photograph vitally important documents. That's not what happens in Tamarisk.
To steal intelligence, MI6 exploits the struggling East German economy, especially a shortage in one vital consumer product.
The Soviets are in an arms race with the United States. This is a very expensive arms race, and the last thing they want to spend money on are household items, including toilet paper.
Thanks to this, even soldiers are forced to improvise when nature calls.
They start to realize that they're literally using any type of paper they can get their hands on. Now, sometimes this could mean letters from home, it could mean receipts for supplies, but then sometimes it might also be classified documents.
Word spreads quickly, and the race is on to discover the communists' dirty secrets.
In one mission, you have two British spies who are hiding out near a firing range where the Soviet soldiers are practicing. They wait for the soldiers to finish up and then take off.
The two operatives then move in and they go through the septic system.
These British spies show a whole new level of dedication. They have to sort through all the muck, soil, and everything else in order to find documents.
They find a lot of what you would expect to be in there, but they also find the paper that the troops had been using to wipe themselves.
The agents take these papers back to an office to be cleansed, reassembled, and analyzed. What they find is a treasure trove.
There are cipher code translations, there are reports on troop morale. You've even got detailed instructions on troop movements.
The mission is so successful, MI6 doubles down and sends spies to an abandoned Soviet military encampment at Neustrelitz.
These two MI6 spies start digging their way through the latrine, and what they come across is an entire military log.
It contains valuable information about the latest Russian tanks in service, and incredibly includes a report on the weak points inherent in those tanks.
Thanks to this unlikely intelligence source, the British create a tank-busting missile that is still in use today. But even the strangest missions have an expiration date.
Operation Tamarisk cannot last forever. As the 80s go on, the Russians are able to solve some of their economic problems. The soldiers get some comfy toilet paper, and no longer do British spies have to crawl into Soviet latrines.